The neon-lit sprawl of Lyria glittered beneath a sky choked with smog, its towering skyscrapers clawing upward like the jagged teeth of some great beast. Interstellar travelers, merchants, wanderers, and beings from countless worlds swarmed the city streets, their voices a cacophony of languages blending into hum of grav vehicles and the distant pulse of fusion-powered generators. Amid this chaotic hub lay a shadow few dared to speak of openly. The slave market, a grim stain on the galaxy's veneer of progress. Here, the powerful bartered over sentient lives as casually as they might haggle for rare spices or engine parts, their wealth drowning out the cries that echoed through the labyrinthine stalls. Yerrick Voss, a weathered space trader from Earth, moved through the throng with a practiced ease, his dark coat brushing against the edges of stalls piled high with exotic goods. His sharp gray eyes scanned the market, but his heart thudded with a familiar disgust. He'd come to Lyria for rare isotopes to fuel his next trade run. Nothing more, he'd told himself. Yet the sight of shackled beings, their spirits crushed beneath energy restraints, gnawed at him. Slavery was a relic humanity had fought to bury centuries ago. Yet here it thrived, a barbaric echo amid the galaxy's technological marvels. Jarick's hands tightened into fists as he passed a holographic display, touting a prime specimen for sale, its cold efficiency twisting his stomach. Then he saw her. In a reinforced cage pulsing with blue energy bars, a silver-skinned alien stood apart from the huddled captives around her. She was tall, her form lithe yet regal, with deep, sorrowful eyes that seemed to pierce through the chaos. Scars crisscrossed her shimmering skin, a brutal map of suffering. Yet she held herself with a quiet dignity that struck Yerrick like a thunderbolt. Her tattered robes, once elegant, hung in rags, and her wrists bore the angry red marks of restraints. Something about her presence tugged at him, a call he couldn't ignore. Before he could second-guess himself, his voice cut through the din. "That one," he said, pointing at her. The slaver, a hulking figure with a scarred face and a perpetual sneer, turned to him. "Expensive choice human," he rasped, his voice dripping with greed. "That's a Clitheran, rare, strong, and worth more than your ship, I'd wager." Jarick's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. He'd haggled with worse than this brute across a dozen systems. "Name your price," he replied, his tone steady. The slaver's grin widened, sensing profit. 50,000 credits. Yerrick countered with 30, and the dance began, sharp words and sharper glares until they settled on 38,000. It was a fortune, enough to drain his reserves, but as the slaver deactivated the restraints and shoved the Clitheran toward him, Yerrick felt a strange calm settle over him. "Come on," he said softly, guiding her away from the cage. "You're free now." She looked at him, her eyes wide with disbelief, then gratitude. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice a melodic hum that resonated in his chest. "I am Silvara." Yerrick nodded, offering a faint smile. "Yerrick, let's get out of this hellhole." Together, they wove through the market's neon haze, ignoring the hostile stares of slavers and buyers alike. The air grew lighter as they approached the Voyager, his sleek freighter moored at the edge of Lyria's sprawling docks. Its polished hull gleamed under the flickering lights, a beacon of escape amid the city's grime. Once aboard, Yerrick led Silvar to the med bay, gesturing to a padded table. "You look like you've been through a war. Let's get you patched up." She sat, her movements graceful despite her exhaustion, and he busied himself with a medkit, applying salves to her wounds. As he worked, she began to speak, her voice weaving a tale of a lost world. Clithera, a planet of crystalline spires and vast libraries, raised by the Zarth, a merciless race of conquerors. She'd been a scholar, a keeper of her people's knowledge, until the invasion stole everything. Captured, sold, and broken, she'd endured years in chains, her hope reduced to a flickering ember, until now. Yerrick listened, his hands pausing as anger surged through him. "No one should live like that," he said, his voice low but firm. "I'm sorry, Silvara." She met his gaze, her eyes softening. "Your kindness is rare, Yerrick. I thought humanity was just another myth, like the stars that guided us home." He shook his head, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "We're stubborn as hell, that's for sure. And we don't give up, not on ourselves and not on others." Their journey from Lyria was a quiet one at first, the Voyager slicing through the void as stars blurred past. Yarrick taught Silvara the ship's systems, her quick mind soaking up every detail, while she shared fragments of Clitheran lore, tales of resilience and ingenuity that echoed humanity's own struggles. A bond grew between them, fragile but unyielding, forged in the shared fire of survival. But peace was fleeting. The slaver, enraged by his loss, had placed a bounty on Jarrick's head, and soon the scanners blipped with the signatures of pursuers, bounty hunters, their ship sleek and deadly. One night, as Yarrick adjusted the warp drive in the cockpit, a transmission crackled through. A woman's face appeared, her features sharp and cold. "I'm Captain Vera the Relentless," she said, her voice like ice. "Surrender the Clitheran, and I might let you live." Jarrick's grip tightened on the controls. "She's not a prize to be claimed. She's free, and she's staying that way." Vera's eyes narrowed. 1 hour human, then we take her by force. The screen went dark, and Yarrick swore under his breath. Silvara appeared at his side, her calm presence steadying him. "What do we do?" she asked. "We run," he replied, "and we fight." The chase was relentless. Yarrick pushed the Voyager through a series of warp jumps, each one straining the ship's frame, while Silvara recalibrated the sensors to mask their trail. They aimed for the nebula belt, a swirling expanse of gas and gravity wells that could swallow a fleet whole. The Relentless followed, its weapons lighting up the void, but Jarrick's instincts, honed by years of dodging pirates and blockades, kept him one step ahead. Inside the nebula, the ship groaned as he wove through anomalies, Silvara's steady voice guiding him past hazards. At last, a final warp jump flung them into clear space, the hunters lost in the chaos behind. Exhausted, Yarrick slumped to his seat, a tired grin spreading across his face. "We did it!" Silvara nodded, her silver skin catching the starlight. Together, but the respite was brief. Damage from the chase left the Voyager limping, and they diverted to Haven 7, a dusty outpost of flickering lights and hardscrabble colonists. As they landed, Silvara turned to him, her gaze intense. "You've risked everything for me, Yarrick." "Why?" He met her eyes, his voice quiet but certain. "Because it's what we do. Humans see something broken and we fix it, not because it's easy, but because it's right." Repairs on Haven. 7 stretched into days, and whispers of their escape reached the outpost's ears. One evening, as Yarrick tinkered with the engines, a new signal pinged. A fleet from the Galactic Accord, a coalition of worlds fighting for justice. The Aurora, their flagship, loomed into view, its sleek lines a marvel against the stars. Captain Elise Caron greeted them aboard, her presence commanding yet warm. "We've tracked your journey," she said. "You've struck a blow against the slave trade. We could use people like you." Yarrick and Silvara exchanged a glance. Joining the Accord meant more than survival. It meant purpose. "I'm in," Yarrick said, his resolve unshaken. "My people need a voice," Silvara added, "and I'll be it." Weeks later, they stood on the Aurora's bridge. Yarrick now a pilot in their elite squadron, Silvara a diplomat rallying support for the oppressed. Their first mission took them to the Gamma Sector, where they dismantled a sprawling slave ring, freeing hundreds. As they watched the captives embrace their freedom, Yarrick felt a swell of pride. "This is just the start," Silvara said, her hand brushing his. He nodded, the stars ahead of promise. "Together, there's nothing we can't do." Humanity's stubborn spark had lit a fire in the galaxy, and with Silvara by his side, Yarrick knew they'd burn away the darkness, one star at a time. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Your support keeps these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.